In today's video, we're going to take a look at the Velos LBP from SilencerCo. The Velos is SilencerCo's latest can. It's a dedicated 5.56 silencer and ideal for use on semi-auto and select fire weapons where you need lower back pressure, be it to manage cyclic rate or to reduce gas blowback. In this video, we're going to take a look at the Velos in a general overview, as well as see what the decibel reduction looks like and if it is as advertised when it comes to reduced back pressure. Let's go ahead and check out what comes in the box when you purchase the Velos from SilencerCo. Standard SilencerCo box, open that up, and of course we've got the Velos itself with an included Charlie ASR mount. We've got one 1/2x28 ASR flash hider. There's a couple tools in here. These are one spanner wrench and one Charlie multi-tool. Packaging material, there's going to be a tube of rock set, which we generally don't recommend using, some product information, as well as a storage pouch just to keep it from getting scratched up when it's in your safe. We'll go ahead and dive into the technical specifications on the SilencerCo Velos. It is a 223/5.56 dedicated can, but as such, it can also handle things like 5.45 or maybe 204 Ruger, things in that category, but it is not a 30 cal can. It uses the Charlie series of accessories, so your front caps and your mounts will be Charlie. It comes with the ASR, but it can be changed out to things like Griffin's Plan A, Q's Plan B, Dead Air's Chemo, SilencerCo Direct Thread, YHM mounts, rugged mounts, Dead Air Xeno, and a number of other different solutions to fit the shooter's specific needs. It is a hard use can, and as such, it's a little on the heavier side, but not nearly what you'd expect. This 17.4 stainless and Inconel suppressor only weighs 15.2 ounces. Even then, it still is full auto rated. You can put it on belt feds, select fire stuff, whatever you want to throw at it, it can take, and it has no minimum barrel length restrictions. The overall length of the silencer is 5.98 inches, and the diameter is 1.73 inches. It also uses a black V-Series Cerakote, which is a little bit of a departure from what most silencer manufacturers are putting on silencers right now. It is a low back pressure can, and while that's important we cover in the technical specifications, what I'm going to ask that's more important is take a look at the ejection ports and the overall gas coming out of the firearm during all the little video clips where we're seeing the Velos being used. The topic of back pressure is a little bit difficult to approach, largely because people's sensitivity and if blowback is bad or not is highly subjective. What is not bad to one person may be terrible to another. There's a lot of factors that come into play. Of course, sensitivity, length of pull, firearm type, as bullpups generally are much worse. If you're right or left-handed shooters generally have a little bit more issue with blowback, is that ejection port is kind of kicking all that gas right into their face. Indoor versus outdoor shooting or wind conditions. All of these can lead people to see blowback more negatively or less negatively than it really is. So we're going to try to approach this topic more scientifically and less of it feels this or it feels that. Trying to take a scientific approach to back pressure, we're going to focus on a couple different things. One is the amount of gas coming out of the ejection port, charging handle, and just the receiver set on this AR in general. The other is going to be cyclic rate on automatic, primarily the SCAR 16. You can see the SCAR 16 has a very nice cadence and very good cyclic rate. and it's behaving the same as it does unsuppressed with the Velos on. So the Velos isn't increasing cyclic rate. It's not increasing back pressure. You're not seeing a lot of gases come out of the SCAR, the AR-15, or even the AUG. And the M16 as well, the cyclic rate was much more manageable. So we can see the difference between suppressed and unsuppressed on the select fire guns really isn't that different, which is indicative of very low back pressure. That we can kind of quantify and we can use as a measure. If we do lapse back into the I feel area, nobody noticed any blowback. It really felt like shooting a very quiet, unsuppressed firearm in terms of back pressure. So did SilencerCo do what they set out to with the Velos having a very low back pressure can? Absolutely. They did. There's no arguments that the Velos is not a high back pressure can or a mid back pressure can. It is a very low back pressure can, as the name implies. How does this transfer to decibel reduction? We're about to jump into that in just a second. Let's take a look at decibel reduction, and this is going to be a little bit different than our normal videos. The Velos came in at 137.8 decibels, and that sounds a little bit higher than some, but it's complicated. So we're going to break it down and explain why still under 140 with the Velos is extremely impressive. The SilencerCo Velos is a low back pressure can. What that means is a lot of the gas isn't trapped and held up inside the silencer while the weapon cycles. This allows it to fire more naturally, less recoil, less dirty, less stuff coming back at the face. It's going to behave more like an unsuppressed firearm in terms of function. But usually this is at the cost of it being louder because it's not as effectively trapping and cooling that gas as a lot of high back pressure cans. This is historically why a lot of people don't like low back pressure or flow through style cans. They're just louder. But let's take a look at the AR-15 and how it works. You've got a supersonic projectile that's hitting about 144 decibels or so, and that is the supersonic crack reflecting off of objects in the environment. If we take a look at what happens at the shooter's ear, with most silencers on an AR-15, you'd be surprised, but it's actually well over 140 decibels, which is the OSHA hearing safe standard. This is because the quieter it is at the muzzle, from that extra back pressure, causes faster unlocking and more port noise, which transitions to a louder silencer at the ear. If we look at the just shy of 138 decibels the Velos is doing, keep in mind we're also under 140 at the shooter's ear, and the supersonic crack of the projectile is over 140 downrange. So all we need to do is make sure at the muzzle it's not overpowering what we're going to hear at the ear, or it's louder than something reflecting off nearby, say a concrete wall or something you're shooting next to. So at the muzzle with this design of can, we don't necessarily need to chase numbers because by design it's going to be a little bit quieter to the shooter's ear. It's a little bit complicated, but the overall takeaway is even though on paper that almost 138 number looks higher than many other cans, it's actually quieter and more pleasant at the shooter's ear. It's a fantastic balance between decibel reduction at the ear, at the muzzle, and low back pressure. It's one of the best balanced silencers in the low back pressure class right now. So overall impressions on the new SilencerCo Velos. I think they did exactly what they intended with this can, and that's fantastic. It's a low back pressure, extraordinarily durable, hard use can, optimized for select fire and semi-auto firearms. That's also its downside. It doesn't have a ton of versatility. It can't be put on a ton of different calibers. It's not as quiet as some of the really, really high back pressure options if you were to put it on a bolt gun. But the good news is most of the rifles being shot in America here right now are semi-auto gas-operated guns like the AR-15. And this is exactly what the Velos is designed for. So while it may not cover a whole bunch of bases, the ones that it covers, it does a fantastic job of. If you have any questions on the SilencerCo Velos, their other products, or anything else we carry, feel free to give us a call, email, or stop on by.